Thank you very much, Ms. Mariam Hassan. It's very interesting to have someone talk about the English language development program in a society which relates social stratification with the language that you know or you speak. It's interesting because my uncle, who was very conscious about him not knowing English well, used to go to England or wherever, and he said, you know what, everyone over there is literate. He's like, why? And even the poor boy who used to play in the streets, he used to speak English very fluently. But I would, if I may, with all your permission, just remind everyone, it's not necessarily at the cost of another language. As she very rightly said herself, she's perseverance in Urdu, and we wish her all the luck. And of course, we will support anyone who speaks English as well as Urdu, and the ability to learn different languages is what we're trying to get at over here. Now, moving swiftly forward is the BSS Evaluation Program, which is going to be talked about by Mr. Simon Testa, but I'm not going to let him come up here without a brief introduction. Mr. Simon Testa is the Director, School Evaluation, Beaconhouse Group. He has held several important teaching and training assignments in different parts and across the country. In 2009, he joined the Beaconhouse system in the United Arab Emirates as a school improvement coordinator. This year, Mr. Testa moved to Lahore to develop systems for the evaluation of Beaconhouse schools and educational projects worldwide. Please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Simon Testa on stage.
Mr. Kasuri, Mrs. Kasuri, ladies and gentlemen, assalamu alaikum, good afternoon. I say assalamu alaikum in an Arabic accent, I'm not sure. Our strongest motivator for us becoming teachers, educators, and educational leaders was probably our conviction that through our work and through working with others, we can make a difference to the achievement and well-being of our students. The school evaluation system I will be sharing with you today, the framework that we have developed, is very much underpinned by that conviction. Oh, I realize I have a screen here, sorry. School evaluation is not a new word to Beaconhouse. Since the early days, from 1975 onwards, Beaconhouse has been asking for feedback from both local and overseas professionals about how good is the teaching and learning, how effective are the programs. Beaconhouse has tried a number of systems. They had a time up till not very long ago where curriculum coordinators used to go into schools, evaluate the school provision, and at the same time give advice. This is not very unlike the old inspectorate system that we perhaps know in the UK or New Zealand, where inspectors were critical friends. However, there have been two occasions where Beaconhouse has trialled whole system evaluations where they would evaluate all the schools in the country. In one system, they had senior people or experts, local people, who would go and evaluate the schools. These were mainly from the curriculum department. And in another system, the heads from different regions would evaluate schools in other regions. I think many of us here are familiar with at least one of these initiatives. So, as you can see, Beaconhouse has a very rich tapestry of learning experience from which to draw on, and these have been invaluable in setting up the framework for our new system. In June this year, the Chief Executive gave us a very clear task, and that is to develop in a sustainable way a school evaluation framework that focuses on helping schools to do two things. First of all, to further improve outcomes for students, and secondly, to further develop accountability. I'd like to stress the word sustainable. We want to develop a system of school evaluation which is sustainable, which will go on for a number of years. This development is not taking place in a vacuum. There are a number of other developments that have affected this decision, such as the evolution and the establishment of the regional offices and school groups. Now, Peter Senge, who I'm a great fan of, has this really great quote about sustainability, and he says, every organization is a product of how members think and interact. If you want to improve a school system, before you change the rules, look to the ways that people think and interact together. Otherwise, the new policies and organizational structures will simply fade away. And, the organization will revert over time to the way it was before. We don't want to do something and then next year find out that it's fading away. And so what are we doing to make sure that this structure, this new framework, is built on solid ground? We have consulted in a number of ways. In, I think, August, we set up a consultative working group with representatives from the 3 regions, from the academic department and from the training department. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank these people for their input and the very valuable feedback. However, we've also met with a number of stakeholders at every level. I think the most fruitful, I'd say, meetings, or the most illuminating meetings were those we had with the students, who were very clear that what they wanted to be evaluated first was the quality of teaching. The students said, if we have good teachers, we learn well, and they were very clear about it. The consultation is ongoing. We do have plans to come to the different regions to engage with all the heads of school, share in more depth what we're about to do, and hear your views as well. We did present a report about a consultation exercise. This was in September, and these are the main findings. People wanted more of a formative than a summative evaluation, which means they wanted something that is going to help them improve rather than just give them a picture. They weren't too keen on having a very broad and wide evaluation that looks at every single aspect in the school. They were more in favor of having deeper, greater depth and focus on teaching and learning. This was a big issue, contextual issues. There were people in some, they were saying that some schools in some regions are very different than others. We cannot evaluate a school in an outpost with exactly the same way we would evaluate a school in the middle of a city. So this is another aspect that came out. And as far as evaluators are concerned, they said, okay, it's good that they know the curriculum and the system, but really they need to have human interaction skills and evaluation skills, and also they need to be professional in the way they interact. So this proposed framework is based on the premise that external evaluation, can only be effective if school leaders and school staff are fully involved in evaluating their schools. This came from the feedback and also from the discussions we had. Coming from a top-down approach, telling a school what to do and leaving might give you a picture, but it will not necessarily lead to improvement. And the recommendations from both in-school evaluation and external evaluation need to lead to some practical implementation. So we have developed a system which is based on 3 aspects. First of all, external evaluation, school-based self-review, and school improvement planning and implementation. You take away any one of those and the system will not work. So what we really are proposing today, more than a school evaluation system, is a school improvement system. And we have to be all engaged in every part of this process. The three of them come together, but for us, the most important thing is that the end that we have to keep in mind in the three strategies is that we are here to improve student outcomes. Now, we are developing strategies to help school build the capacity to develop skills for each of the three areas. But today, I'll just continue speaking about the external evaluation. We have three main objectives for external evaluation. One is to promote improvement in schools, giving you feedback, helping with school review. The other one is ensuring that every child in Beaconhouse gets her or his entitlement to quality education. So irrespective of the branch, irrespective of the region, each child needs to get what we consider to be a quality education. And thirdly, the evaluation will also serve the purpose of keeping key stakeholders, including the chief executive, informed about the progress of schools. Now, we'd like to see external evaluation as supporting a process of school improvement. This is one proposed model that we are working on, where once every 3 years, for example, a school does a situational analysis. We are very happy to facilitate with that or just help with it, or provide advice. And that would lead to the creation of a strategic plan. A strategic plan is mainly a school improvement plan that is a little bit more long-term, has far-reaching goals and broader goals, but that has to be implemented through yearly plans. Now, the way we see the external evaluation linking into this is through, let's say every 3 years, we can help provide even, a more perhaps objective picture of what is happening. But those recommendations should be taken into consideration together with the internal school evaluation. What are we going to evaluate? We just had a workshop on, and we asked this question. Well, the students said teaching, but we have, through our consultation with very different stakeholders and through our research, we have come up with 5 different areas. We want to primarily focus on what is happening to students. It is not what we are doing for them that is most important, but what is happening for them. Give you a little example. We would rather face the children rather than face the teacher when observing a classroom, because we are really interested in what is happening for the students. But we also need to look at teaching, curriculum being offered, the quality of leadership, not just the principal's leadership, but to what extent, for example, is the leadership being distributed in the school. A safe and caring environment and secure. We're looking at the students' experience, not just in academic fields, but, for example, even a social and personal development. And this is perhaps what is particular to Beaconhouse. We will be evaluating the support given to the schools by the group offices and the governance of the school group heads, and we also be evaluating any support, not necessarily, we won't be focusing